Another dramatic start to the game for the Scoots clan, but hopefully everyone is mended from the chip dropping terrace slipping incident that happened there. I The other good rugby side of things from this game that I wanted to touch on is I thought Tom Holmes looked like he could play Super League. Some of the plays he put on, particularly in setting up the tries for Briscoe, I
Yeah,
thought were really good.
he definitely took on the line, didn't
He
he?
took on the line, he committed defenders, and then varied his play off the back of it. There was a long pass, there was a short pass that created space for an offload and that sort of stuff. He varied it. He challenged the defenders, and he ran the show as well. He was very confident in what he was doing on his side of the field. So I think that's got to be highlighted as well as all the sort of negative stuff. In terms of now, we'll go through all the disciplinary stuff. Do you know what's been forgotten in the realms of all this is Jake Connor did get a hit to the head, but he made sure everyone knew about it. But why wasn't he made to go off to have a head check?
Yeah. Well, because Jake Connor needs his head checking most weeks, so no one would know the difference.
It was great when he actually played. It's just, that's not his forte. So let's break it down. The sin binning, and we'll start with the non-sin binning of Missy Talapapa. Obviously, that tackle was about a second and a half too early. Where it's good.
A second and a half is generous.
Is it?
5 seconds. That was 2-3 seconds early.
I'm sure in full time it wasn't 3 seconds, but anyway, luckily Jamie Shaw wasn't hurt by it, and that's the positive out of it.
But I think this is one where it's the potential for injury.
Yeah, I agree.
That upgrades it to make it more serious than it possibly looked at
Do you think there's
first.
a difficulty here in the referees? Probably aren't really versed on what to do with an early tackle.
Just there probably is a bit of that, I think, because they're probably not used to seeing it as much as anything.
In my view, it wasn't a send-off, no matter of it being way too early, because I don't think he made head contact. And I think even with it being a mistimed, badly timed tackle that had a potential to hurt your opponent, a lot of it is rugby league, is the potential to hurt an opponent, and for something that's outside of the norm, you give a penalty. For something that's excessively outside of the norm, I'd be looking for a yellow card. I'd only be looking for a red card if he made head contact, personally.
You see, I think it's not just the outside the norm. It is that potential for injury, quite serious injury, that would take it for me from a yellow to a red.
But
so
if he'd have timed it right, just for argument's sake, if he'd have timed it right and hit him as the ball landed in Shaw's arms, because Shaw was on the ground,
yeah,
everyone would have said that's an incredible hit, but the potential for injury would have been exactly the same, Tim.
Yeah, but I
mean?
suppose. Well, it's more that it's more that you're not braced for the contact, though, isn't it? At that point, you're still thinking you're going to get the ball, then you're going to get the contact. So you're not your muscles and you're not braced and ready and facing that yet.
No, I get it. This is why I'm saying it should be taken more seriously than just a penalty. I don't know. We both think a card should have been shown, but we differ on which card then. On that, right. Next incident was that everyone agrees Luke Briscoe sin binning for holding down. It was clear holding down.
Yeah.
Following on from that, it was the what's his name? Knowles, is it?
I've forgotten this one in the because it was Thursday.
Yeah, for the dangerous throw anyway on Massey Matongo. He must have been called P-Head at school, mustn't he, Massey Matongo? He's got a tiny head. It's just remarkable every time I see it. He's getting bigger and buffer and harder looking. Yeah, he is everything about him is it was Knowles. Brad Knowles. That everyone agrees should have been a sin binning as well. Oh, sorry, there was the high tackle in between that. The John Davies high tackle. I think that was a fair call. I think there'd been about 3 high tackles in a row. Yeah. The referee had tried to tell them to keep them down, talk to your players and that sort of stuff. And then this was the worst of the lot. So I think that was a fair call. Then there was for 4 Knowles as well, was Danny Washbrook's use of the knees. What do you think about this one? I think it was a good spot from the touchy, personally.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I think that was a fair shout and a fair call, and you'd think someone who experiences Danny Washbrook would know better.
I think he thought he would have got away with it because it was only a bit of a move. It wasn't a forceful lift, but he moved his knee into the guy's head when he was trying to play the ball. So I have no problem with it, especially after all the warnings that had been given by that point. Then came the Knowles one, which we've just touched on. Then came Jake Connor straight after the Knowles one. This, I think maybe Hull had a bit of a gripe about this one, but I, in my opinion, think it's shocking that he hasn't been done before for inciting stuff. Because this is what it is. It's inciting the thing to go from a bad tackle to a big kickoff, and that's what he incited there.
And it's probably, I reckon, as there should be consideration for the cumulative effect of the fact he'd been doing that for 60 minutes by that point.
Well, 77 minutes.
Yeah.
77 minutes. Yeah, there you go.
So he's been doing that constant. Well, you've got the referee's got every right to say just go home, Jake.
To me, the most ridiculous of them all, in just sheer lunacy of it happening, was the Jamie Shaw pulling back to delay a quick restart when the score was 38-20 with 2 minutes left to play. It's a sin-binable offence. That is true. That is clear. Do we agree?
Yeah, no, agree on this one. It's just
nonsense, utter nonsense. And then for him to sort of give a smirk and sort of that just showed disrespect for me. The way he went off, and then the Ferremo red card, which we've already discussed. I mean, it was.
And that's his second red card of the season as well. So you can imagine that he will attract a higher tariff.
And to me, it was worse than the first one. He was embarrassed by missing a tackle on a championship player, and he thought the way to deal with that is smack the guy around the head for no apparent reason, really, when he wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, the first one earlier on in the season, that was it was a heat of the moment, a poor execution rather than malicious and stupid, and this exactly what this was.
So Scott McCluskey could have handled the Missy Telepathy thing differently. I think we're pretty much agreed everything else was handled right up to this point as good as it could be. There was the fracas where they missed some punches, but hey ho, the disciplinary appeared not to have even.
And not got to be fair, he was giving them every chance to correct their behaviour.
Yeah,
he wasn't just. You see some referees at lower levels snap. They get annoyed and they just snap and send someone to the bin for something ridiculous. Like I saw one earlier in the season where it was basically someone allowed themselves to be punched in the head was why they got binned, but the referee had just snapped, and that's what you don't. To be fair to Mikaslauskas, he was absolutely not doing that. He gave them every warning, every chance. You could almost argue he was almost on the generous side of how many warnings he was giving them.
Yeah.
But I think it was about right. He was really trying. He was like, look, I do not want to do this, but you are forcing me to take action.
The one thing that I think he should have done at that point is said to Martin Ridyard, why are you kicking it to touch? You're tapping this, then kicking it dead, and you are not kicking it to touch. But obviously you can't tell a player how to play the game, probably. But to me, I didn't want to see another 20 seconds of that, because all I could think was going to happen is there was going to be another fight.
Yeah.
Which there wasn't, luckily, but... Anyway, it was an entertaining game until that last 15 minutes, I thought.
Yeah,
there was a bit of biff, but not too much biff. There was obviously one ludicrous tackle, some really good rugby. Then it just went nuts in the last 10 minutes.
And you think Fev had it. They had the skills within them to really make that a much more competitive game. And that's the disappointing thing, is not all the shenanigans. It's the fact that they had the capability within their team
against that
whole team to play a very good game and really run them quite close. If they played for 80 minutes, as they had done in that second 15 minutes after they'd had the initial blowout,
well, exactly,
I think that could have been a much better game and a much closer game, because they would really have pushed them. And then, some mental questions would start coming to Hull's mind because, we're playing a championship team, we shouldn't be doing this. So I think they would have really wobbled them, but they just didn't do it.
Nope, they did not. Okay, but a championship team who did get the better of their Super League opposition was in the Friday night televised game, where Leigh Centurions won 22 points to 10 over the Salford Red Devils in front of 4,024, so one of the better crowds from the weekend. Liam Moore was the referee. Leigh solidified a 12-10 half-time advantage into that 22-10 victory. The first fan review comes in from Josh McSport, who is the other Twitter account of the RL Latest.
Yeah, Josh McSport says, a true test for Leigh to see how far they've progressed since losing the £1 million game. And after that display, can't say they don't look good. Peter Matautia was a standout for me, and the former NRL fullback made no mistakes to the back. Salford, on the other hand, looked lost in attack without Louis, and for me, Shorrocks looked out of his place at Super League level. Brackets, and I'm a Wigan fan. Hopefully a one-off for him.
And Brian Davies said, Salford just made one mistake after another and gave themselves no chance. Leigh were good value for the win, though. Drew Hutchison looks like he'd be a frustrating player to watch. Good 1 minute, basic error the next. Wonder whether the change of coach at Leigh was essential or whether Neil Dukes should have had more patience and let his new side get to know each other.
Yep, so that's all the feedback we've had on that one.
Yeah, which is surprising because it was a reasonable game. Especially in the first half. I think Salford's attack then became just error upon error upon error, like the guys on the reviews picked out. But yeah, in the first half, Salford started really, really well. But Leigh probably made their only mistake of the first half in that first 5 minutes to help Salford start really, really well. I thought Evalds being back was good, but he didn't look fully fit to me, and that told us the game went on.
No, he definitely didn't look up to his full self, did he? Or certainly even his self this year. Never mind where he was playing 2-3 years ago when he was at his peak.
I think Junior Sal was probably just a bit short of his best form, and if he'd have been spot on, he probably would have helped Salford get a bit more of an advantage in that first 15 minutes where they really were on top. And I think that's kind of where it got to for Salford. After that, the halfbacks showed no direction. They kept knocking on at dummy half. They really couldn't get out their own way, and Daryl Alfort's again demonstrated that he's got a big heart and a lot of effort, but he isn't high enough quality.
He's not quite there yet, is he?
No. Whereas for Leigh, Matt Matautia got a call out there. I think he was very good. I really like Ben Reynolds. I've liked Ben Reynolds for a few years, even before he showed a few flashes in Super League last year. I think he was showing Jake Shorrocks the way. Jake Shorrocks showed a complete lack of confidence for Salford, whereas Ben Reynolds showed a player who's been playing in a winning side, who trusts his instincts and his backs his ability, and he was taking on the line, he was putting kicks in for people, he was setting up opportunities, and really threatening and making questions be answered by the defending side. So I thought,
and he played really well the week before as well, because I saw obviously Lee's game down at London, and he looked really good in that game as well, and just giving them that extra edge.
And then the back row, all three of the starting back row for Leigh, and I think Kevin Leroy as well when he came off the bench, were all really decent in this game, and it meant they had the way better pack.
Yeah. So yeah, that was that game.
Did you have anything else to?
Not really. I mean, the only thing I've written down in my notes was, are they still playing? Because it did, again, there's another game where it just dragged out for the last 20 minutes or so.
It dragged out because it just felt like Salford had nothing in them to create something, because by that point Evalds was 2 paces off the pace. Shorrocks had no confidence whatsoever, and Jack Littlejohn isn't very good, in my opinion. The only other thing to take from this game is I had a tweet lined up in case Ben Nakubawai scored a try, because obviously the correct pronunciation must be Nakumbawai, even though there's no M. Exactly. I've got that ready to go when he scores a try on a televised game. It's in the drafts, ready to send. Yep. So
yeah. So
if Salford aren't singing that,